Welcome back to the Market Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Laird, and thanks for joining us. Today, just had a really fun, engaging conversation with Abby Palanca. She's with Serhant. She focuses on both Brooklyn, New York, and Manhattan, New York. Very competitive real estate market there. We talked about co-ops. I had no idea how co-ops work, and she was kind, patient enough to explain them to me. We talked about social media, how a guy sort of slid into her DMs. She ignored him for a while, finally reached back out, ended up having an amazing transaction with the individual. She's an accountant by trade. We talked Jets versus Giants football. We talked Yankees versus Mets baseball. She shared with us a couple hidden gems of restaurants that she really likes to go to. And then, of course, we had to talk about Ryan Serhant. And if you're familiar with reality television, Bravo has a series called Million Dollar Listing New York. Ryan was on the show for 9 seasons. And I had to ask her, is he as nice as he comes across as? Is he, what's he like? And well, you're just going to have to watch the podcast. So again, I hope you enjoy this as much as I did hosting it. Abby Palanca, Serhant, New York. Hey, welcome back. Matt Laird with the Market Mindset Podcast. I am just thrilled. It took a little while to get her here with us today, coming to us all the way across country in New York, New York. Abby Palanca with Serhant. New York also has another office in Brooklyn. Abby, thank you for taking the time to get out of your schedule and come visit us today. How are you doing?
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, yeah, this is exciting for us too. I mean, we try to get as many guests on the podcast as we can from all over, and I'm just happy to say you're the first one from New York. So just thrilled. Yeah, but all over. It's great. How's real estate? What are you guys doing there?
Oh my gosh, it's so great and so busy. Earlier this month, I said to my team, don't worry, we're going to slow down in November. Everybody's going to have time. I'm not launching any new listings. And now we're launching 6 new things. And last week they were like, I thought you said we weren't launching anything new. And I'm like, I know, but we have to go where the market is, and the market's still moving. So here we are.
That's great. That's great. Where's most of your business coming from? If people are moving to New York in your area, where are they coming from? Where's most of your business?
So it's interesting. We just actually, I just started charting the census data.
Okay.
About, who's really moving to New York in droves. A lot. So Arizona is a big driver of traffic to New York, California, Maryland, all around the tri-state as well. Ohio, a huge push from Ohio into Brooklyn. It's like my kids' elementary school, the joke used to be I was one of the few that wasn't from Ohio. We had so many people that all knew each other in Ohio and just ended up here.
Fascinating. Yeah. So, I mean, Ohio of all places, but it's neat that New York's still, in my mind, a melting pot similar to California. Such a just wide variety of people, great cultures from all different backgrounds. We're talking real estate, and we're talking, interest rates and market. What are you seeing price wise? Is it still an aggressive market, buyer, seller advantage? What do we have out there?
So, I mean, it really depends on how the listing is going out. What we're finding right now is that we're doing a lot of off-market transactions. I think sellers are a little hesitant to list, especially if they don't know where they're going, and especially if they don't really have a reason to move. Right now, rates hovering above 6. It's not really that leisurely, let's put our home on the market and find something else kind of a market. It's like, we're moving because we're having a baby, or we're getting divorced, or we're downsizing. It's got to be a major life shift right now for people to I think, take the plunge and put their homes on the market. But we have a very robust list of people that are like, we would move if we found a buyer that would pay us X for our home, or we would move if we found the perfect place that looked like this. So what we're doing right now, a lot of is really playing matchmaker, real estate matchmaker, I like to call it, trying to connect the dots between buyers that we have that are looking for something particular, sellers that we have that kind of have what they're looking for, to really just try to make a market happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I love the idea that, the pocket listings and um, being able to I love that term, matchmaker. And if, the bigger buyers list, and then all of a sudden you have these uh, sellers that would sell conditionally if it was right. So when you go to them, that's a typical if I could, would you type of question. Hey, I've got this buyer wants your place. You've got motivated sellers and it's an easier transaction, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing for those types of buyers is what I tell them is like, look, you're going to have to be flexible on timing. In order to find the perfect place, you might just have to say that you're open to a rent back or you're open to working around a seller's timeline so they don't feel the pressure to find, to almost be homeless, you
Yeah.
know?
That's a big challenge in that timing. I mean, it's very hard to move, get your move in, get the movers in and out. So flexibility is obviously critical there. Um, of
So
your
key.
how many of your client your first time buyers from 3 or 4 years ago? I mean, and we got spoiled there with unheard of low rates. And then now if they want to move, they maybe added a child or maybe a family member moved in, but yet the increase in interest rates limits their buying capacity. Has that slowed down the business a little bit, interest rates?
So what's funny for us, I've been in awe of the number of people that we're selling for right now, or we've just closed recently that bought less than 3 years ago.
Okay.
Like we've had a lot of them. And what I will say is we've had a lot of, we sold maybe last time we represented the seller. Those buyers came back to us.
Okay.
Not originally our clients, but I think a lot of brokers right now are kind of sleeping on their clients that they closed less than 3 years ago because they're like, they're not moving. No one's selling right now. I am keeping up with all of our clients and we just picked up two. I like to call them orphan buyers, like they were left out in the cold by their previous buyer's agent.
Yeah.
Uh, but we just closed two deals, recently, with buyers that bought less than 3 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and to me, what that screams right away is amazing customer service. You've obviously made an impact, in the past in a different transaction. And I'm just circling back. That was you had a listing, someone else represented the buyer that came in, and now that buyer that bought your listing is coming back to you.
Yes, like, would you be open to representing us again? And I think, again, once we close the transaction, no matter who we represent, we start our mailers, we start our calls. And those mailers don't stop. I think a lot of brokers, like, you send out a mailer, you hope for the best, you don't do it again, maybe for another 6 months. Like you have to really keep up. This is a numbers game. How many times do you have to touch somebody in a transaction or over the course of 6, 8, 12 months before they're like, oh yeah, the Abby, she keeps sending me mail. So, we've been sending constant postcards and whatever else, whatever collateral we have. And those buyers turned around and called us. And on one of them, they were moving out of state. They decided, they had another baby. It was time to go. But for the others, they wanted to trade up in the same neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't I go buy a house and you're the listing agent. I wouldn't expect to, I mean, just normally and I'm in real estate, but as a buyer, I wouldn't expect to get mail from the listing agent and, and updates and market updates and Christmas cards and things like that. And like you just said, the little things, the little touches that
Yep.
keeps you front of mind for, a client that wasn't yours, but that was represented by someone else, but yet, you're front of mind for them. And that's, I mean, for me, if I got a card or a Christmas card or a market update from the agent that I, bought a home from, I'd be really impressed. So congratulations on that. That's more people should focus on that. I think that's a great point, because if you get two or three a year, And and then never mind the referrals, right? I mean, how big of what part of your business comes from referrals?
So I honestly, we are like 94% referral driven, which I think that that's great, but I also think that that's showing you that I'm not doing all the marketing that that I should be doing. That's what that tells me. But I mean,
Okay.
we're really fortunate that we've built up a really robust business. Clients really like us. We're respected in our market. So, the referrals keep coming in.
Yeah. Um, so I mean, so talk to me about Brooklyn. I mean, I've got family in Bayside, Queens. I'm
Mhm.
not real familiar with the Brooklyn area. Talk to me about who's coming to Brooklyn. What type of real estate? What are we looking at? I mean, are these single family homes? Are you doing a lot of, condo apartments? What's your business mix?
So we actually do everything. So condo, co-op, townhouse, multifamily, and we do a lot of landlord rep, on the leasing side. We really cover it all, and it'll depend on really what neighborhood you're looking at, what type of housing stock you're really going to see. Like downtown Brooklyn, closer to the city, you're going to get more condo buildings, or maybe more single family townhomes. Push a little further out into Brooklyn, you start to see a lot of two family homes or co-ops in certain neighborhoods. So it really kind of depends on what you're looking for, the kind of housing stock you'll find.
Right, right. So me being out here on the West Coast and not familiar with a lot of the terms, explain what co-op is for us out here that
Are
don't
you
really navigate
West
those
Coast?
waters.
So a co-op is essentially it looks like an apartment building or a condo building, and you have an apartment, but you own shares in the apartment. You don't actually own the real estate itself. So, it's a lot stricter in terms of what you're allowed to do. If you want to renovate, you want to change the windows, anything really internally, you have to go and get approval from a board. When
Okay.
you're buying, you also need approval from the board in order to move in. The great thing about a co-op is it's a lot cheaper to get into. Prices are lower because you don't, own the physical real estate of it. Closing costs are cheaper on a co-op. But there's just some more rules and restrictions that go along with it. So it's not for everyone in that respect. And you
Who
can really rent it out as easily as you can other types of
so
housing.
who owns the real estate then? Help me. I'm a little naive in this area.
The co-op board. So they own the building. The co-op will own the building. You're buying essentially shares in the apartment.
Do you get to participate in the capital gain, the improvement, the value as it
Yeah.
goes up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And then, but again, little. So I mean, I love that it's a you're sort of guaranteeing yourself you got pretty high quality neighbors when you purchase into a co-op. I mean,
Yeah, they're definitely stricter about financials, about, renting apartments out. Some buildings in New York don't allow any leasing whatsoever. If you're in a co-op, it's 100% owner occupied. So, obviously that's going to be something that an investor is not going to look a lot into. The values tend to be lower than in a condo because there's just less that you can do with it. But I mean, I think for first-time home buyers, I think for people that are a little afraid of all the maintenance that can come along with owning a home, like in a condo, windows go, your boiler goes, that's on you. In a co-op, the building is going to take care of those things, and you might just have to cover the assessment that goes along with that capital improvement.
right. Is that assessment across all tenants, or is that a blanket assessment? So each unit, each co-op gets a fixed amount assessed to them?
So it depends on the building. Some buildings, yes. Other buildings it'll depend on the number of shares. So it'll be a price attributed to, per share.
Right. But again, I see the advantage, and I don't want to dwell too much on co-ops. It's just really educating myself. But it's you can leave, and you know that your building, your home is taken care of. You've got a lot of people watching out. You've got people that have to report to the board, and HOAs and things like that. That's awesome. Circling
Yeah.
back to your business mix right now, what would you say, buyer, listing versus buy side? What percentage of your business?
I would say we're probably 60-40 this year, list buy. Last
Okay.
year was probably a little more split down the middle. Uh,
Okay.
we do tend to be, heavy on the listing side, but we try to pick up as many buyers along the way as we can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then like going back, like you said, you're those buyers become referrals, and referrals, come back to that great customer service you're providing. Um, the big thing, and a lot of veteran agents, it didn't really affect veteran agents, but you have the DOJ and the NAR and the disclosures. Are you seeing any fee compression in your marketplace as far as buy side representation?
So right now, no, I think, first of all, we're REBNY agents. We're not part of the National Association of Realtors. So our listing agreements always looked a little different. I mean, we've changed them slightly, but we didn't have as many issues as NAR members did. But look, I mean, I think more transparency in the industry is only going to be a better thing. We should have been explaining to our clients all along how these fees are going, how they're being paid in a much clearer and concise way. I think we're in the industry, we're like, before we were like, okay, yeah, the fees split 50-50. Now it's like, okay, let's talk about it. Do you really think that the buyer's agent deserves, half? Let me explain to you why you might want to pay them half. I mean, I'm a big advocate still for the 50-50 split. Buyer's agents do, just as much work, if not more, sometimes in the transaction when you've got to get a hesitant buyer to the table. So, you want to compensate them for that amount of work.
No, I agree, and I'm not worried about the veteran agents. I'm really not. The veteran agents know their value, what they bring to the table. Veteran agents like working with other experienced agents, knowing that the buy side agent is going to execute and follow through on what they say. And those relationships are so critical. My concern is, especially with the growth in the number of licensed agents, it has decreased a little bit. But I mean, in 1972, the New York Stock Exchange deregulated, stock trading fees, and then that led to the proliferation. I'll say that again, of the Schwabs, the Fidelities, the E Trades, now the Robin Hoods, and it was a race to the bottom. I don't want to see the race to the bottom in fees, and it's up to the veteran agents to maybe teach these younger agents that we're bringing value. But if you get some of these newer agents and they're desperate, um, then all of a sudden, well, I'll do a flat fee, or I'll do it per hour, or I'll do whatever, and that could be the kiss of death. And when you have a strong culture like your organization, especially with your leadership there, that's just critically important. I mean, we have to know the value that we bring. I mean, I think you would agree.
No, 1,000%. And newer agents that join my team, the first thing that I tell them, like, rule number one, the most important asset that you have in this industry is your relationship with other agents. Do not go for their business. Make sure that you are treating the other agent with respect. Go out, meet other agents. If you have to use my name to get in the door for them to be a little warmer and kinder to you, especially, when you're just starting out, go ahead and do that. But, I think that collaboration is incredibly important because we all know what it's like to work like dogs for our clients, what we're all up against. And we have to have each other's backs, right? Which is why you want to strengthen those bonds so that someone isn't undercutting you and charging 2% when, there's no room left in that deal for any other agent.
Right, right. So, uh, are sellers bringing it up to you? Hey, how much do I have to pay? The buy side on this, or is it a blip?
Very few. I will say very few are those that understand that we want someone on the other side of that deal to get this to a closing table. It's not even really a question. They'll ask me, like, still think we should give them X? Yes. Okay, let's go. I've had a few turn around and say, I don't want to pay them at all. But those are the people that would almost try to go it on their own. You know
Right.
what I
Yep.
So, like, do they see the value in me? The jury's still out, and that's probably not my client at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. And
Job to educate, you know what I mean? And to show the value that we bring. But there are just going to be some people that don't get it.
yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I was selling my second house, and that's before I was really into real estate. And I had this big bravado coming out, and Carrie Harabedian, shout out to you. I said, well, if you bring both sides to the table, I want you to lower your fee from, 6% to 5%. And he just, he's like, yeah, no problem. That's interesting that you bring it up though, because I've got some real estate friends in Utah, and their sellers say if I bring the buyer to the table, they're going to pay me 7%, pay them 7. And he just disarmed me, made me feel, but he navigated it, and he had a great response. And I love that you're enforcing that and teaching that with your people. I also find that it's the first time sellers a lot of times, and
Mhm.
and in the medium demographic, the super wealthy clients, they understand it's just part of doing business. In the investment side, when you're representing buyers on multifamily or units or in retail or whatever, they're used to paying that fee because they know the value that's brought to the table. And then there's the the tax write-off and the cost basis adjustment for fees. But again, I love that you're addressing that straight up with your real estate clients, and on the listing side as well. And it's up to you.
So
Leaders like, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I think that's where it's important to know your data, right? Because I
Okay.
think you can show a seller, like, look, these homes that were not represented, that did not have a buyer's broker, or were not paying out a buyer's agent fee, this is what they sold for compared to list. Those that had a buyer broker on the other side, this is where they sold compared to list. Those that were staged and painted and all of that, this is where they sold compared to list. Now go ahead and make your decision, but you have all the information in front of you.
I love that. Data to back it up. Staging. How important is staging? I love you brought it up. It's becoming bigger out here in California. Staging. Talk about to me a little bit.
So, I mean, we think it's so important that we do it all in-house for free for every listing. My team, we have a warehouse full of furniture, furnishings, you name it. And we do it all soup to nuts.
Yeah, that's I love that idea. How involved so in the staging process, it sounds like you just bring a lot of value to the overall picture. I mean, between staging and photography, how competitive is the residential market right now, there where you are?
There's, it is pretty competitive, especially because it's such a low inventory market right now. But I
Okay.
think, we sellers are concerned about pricing and costs and fees. So I think the fact that we bring that one extra piece, which is a pretty expensive piece, to the table for free, no questions asked. I mean, honestly, when someone doesn't want me to stage something, that tends to be an issue for me, right? Because it's like if it doesn't go out looking its best from minute one, it's just going to be harder to sell.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Mike Ferry. I've followed a lot of his coaching. Know the family, and he said the only thing worse than not getting a listing is getting a listing and having it sit on the market forever. I mean, that's not really good advertising. And I love the fact that it comes down to client control. I mean, it really. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's inspired by your confidence. So we got to sort of address something. I don't want to be too awestruck. What's it like working for Mr. Serhant, working with his organization?
I gotta tell you, I mean, and I say this to his face, like there's no one better in his role. He's meant to be a CEO. I think, look, you want to work for someone that's the hardest working person in the room, right? That really knows their stuff, that's at the top of their game. It makes you want to work harder for them. It makes me want to be a better leader for my team, like seeing the way he leads. And I think that culture and community in an organization really start at the top. Like you can't have a crappy CEO and then have this incredible organization. And everybody on the executive team at Serhant is like top notch, really here for us, for our success, for our business. And I think it's because he brings that every day and empowers them. So our business has exploded since I've joined, but I also think like I'm a much better broker and leader because I'm kind of like trying to, follow his example and then lead by example.
Yeah, I mean, success leaves clues. Right now, Serhant, is it East Coast based? I mean, where's your
We're kind of
foothold?
all over. And
Okay.
we're growing by the day, so we have several offices in Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Connecticut. Stay tuned because I feel like we're popping up somewhere new every day of the week.
Wow, what an incredible growth opportunity for new agents and like you said, leadership from the top. And I mean, I've never met him. I've seen him, is he as nice as he comes across? I mean, and professional.
Honestly, is so I actually never really watched the show. Like I watched it in the beginning. And then I knew a few brokers on there that were like pretending to be buyers or whatever. And I was like,
Right.
oh, it's like so fake. And I never watched it again. And then the night before I met him for the first time, I was like, I felt like I had to binge watch it in case I was quiz, so I'm like watching it. And then you meet him and he's just like this normal guy. I mean, he's huge, right? So he's kind of larger than life,
Yeah.
but as down to earth and as genuine as they come. Like I think everybody that works for Serhant at Serhant, we're all incredibly fortunate to be here.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, it just the name obviously helps, but you can have the best name in the world, but if you don't have the leadership behind it, it doesn't really mean
That means
much.
nothing for
Yeah.
sure.
All
Yeah.
right. So, we talk a little sports here. I'm a LA guy,
Your girl, but go ahead. We'll
right?
try.
So are you Yankee, real quick off the cup, Yankees or Mets?
So our household split down the middle because two of my kids are Mets fans. My husband's a Yankee fan. I grew up a Yankees fan. But I will tell you, City Field is the better experience. Like food is great. It's a really fun stadium. So I don't know. I mean, I'm really just there for the cheesesteaks. You
Right. Right.
know,
Football.
cheesesteaks,
We're gonna go football. Jets or Giants?
Giants. We're Giants. We're a Giants household all the way.
Yeah, but there's stadiums in New Jersey, right?
Yes.
Right.
My
But
husband's from New Jersey, so I feel like we've got our foot in both states.
right, right, right. Locally, well, let's talk about your social media presence. What are you doing for social media? Is it generating any business for you?
Yeah, so it is. I mean, look, I've never and coming, being at Serhant where we're so social media focused, you always feel like you're trying to keep up. I think social has to be whatever is comfortable for you, you
Okay.
know, because otherwise you're not going to do it. And I think for certain agents like myself, like I'm not great sitting there editing a reel for 2 hours. I don't have it in me to do it. So, now I outsource it. I have a wonderful company. They handle all of our social. And it's been fun. But yeah, we've gotten business from it. So the biggest deal of my career came through Instagram.
Wow. Tell me.
So Ryan was at our office and I'm here now. It's a little blurred, but you can kind of see. And we were having a party and he was on social and he's like, everybody check out Abby Palanca's new office. She's the queen of Brooklyn. Rah, rah, rah. And that night I get a DM from some guy. He's a broker in DC. And he's like, hey, I saw you on Ryan's Instagram. We should catch up over Zoom. And I'm like, ugh, you know, okay, sure. And I think he reached out like two or three more times before I was finally like, okay, fine. And he was like, I have clients, they're thinking of moving to Brooklyn. I don't know much about it. I'd love to find someone with like boots on the ground. I looked up your profile, like all the things. And we struck up actually a really nice friendship. He's, kind of like on my go-to if I'm working through a problem. He's one of the people I'll give a call. But he referred me a client and it ended up being a $22 million sale from Instagram.
Of all of them, right? I mean, I hear about LinkedIn and and Twitter and TikTok and Facebook, Instagram.
Meanwhile, Instagram was really for me like posting my lunch and posting my kids.
Right.
pizza,
Yeah.
like football, or soccer or whatever. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Wow. Congratulations on that. And
Thank
then, like you, I would be like a little skeptical of, you're beautiful, but, and articulate. But I mean, if I was a woman, I go, do I have a
I was
stalker
gonna
out
say you're
there?
great. Yeah, because you get those randos, in your messages. Half the time, I don't even check like the message requests.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I saw you and Ryan's thing. Can we?" And I'm like, "Ugh,
Right.
stop." And now, sorry, Danny, you were legit and not a creeper.
Right. Well, playing hard to get, probably, I mean,
Yes.
you're not available. You're busy. So,
Oh, he's so busy.
yeah, maybe less busy if you knew it was a $22 million referral coming
That's
through.
so nuts. And that was actually the second largest sale in Brooklyn's history.
Wow. Good for you. Good
Yeah.
for you. And that's obviously a testament to the trust and rapport that you built up, with this individual.
Yeah, look, I think referral partners are incredibly important to our business. Like if I give a referral, if I'm giving a client your name, I want to know that you are going to provide the same level of service that I am, and vice versa. And I don't want to have to wonder what's happening in that deal. I hope you're going to keep me in the loop. And again, vice versa. So, yeah, I mean, I think, referral partners around the country are incredibly important. And we do get a lot of our business from there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, going back, I mean, again, would you say 80, 90% of your business right now is referral based?
Yeah,
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
90%.
How big is your team right now there in Brooklyn?
We are 8 plus 2 administrative assistants.
Okay. All right. We got two more things I sort of want to touch on. Tell me some top restaurants there in Brooklyn. If I mean, I'm back there, I'm on business, I'm looking at real estate with you. What are two of the restaurants you sort of keep in your back pocket to really, keep secret, but you want to show people?
So 2 of my favorites are, if you're in like the Park Slope, Windsor Terrace area, I love Krupa Grocery. I mean, the food is great, but I love a place like if Cheers were a place in my neighborhood, like that's where I'd be. This is my stool.
Okay.
Everybody knows my name. I love a place like that. Like I'm a neighborhood girl. So that they're my favorite. They've just got a great vibe. And actually the owner of Krupa introduced us to this place in Williamsburg, Llama Inn, which is incredible. Like food is off the charts. Every dish is phenomenal. Also a really great vibe.
Okay, so what are the specialties? Is it fish? Is it steak? Is it certain ethnic food? What is it?
You have a ton of meat. If you're a vegetarian, Llama Inn might not be your scene.
Okay.
And at Krupa, like I really love all the pastas.
Right. Um, Abby, I'm so happy you could join us and take time out of your schedule. I know you're so busy.
No, thank
People
you.
want to move to Brooklyn. People want to talk about maybe switching brokerage firms. How do we get a hold of you? What's the best way to reach out to you?
So I'm on Instagram. If you have a $22 million buyer and you want to send it over to me, you can find me there
Right.
at Abby Palanca. And then it's super easy. Email me, abby@serhant.com. Doesn't get easier than that. I've worked so long. I've worked 13 years for a first name email address.
Seriously.
It's a big deal.
Oh, I agree, because a lot of times it's Matt.Laridan at
Yeah.
whatever, and to have Abby at Serhant.
Laridan, 1 T, 2 T.
Oh
No.
no, I love it. Yeah.
Abby@serhant.com.
You can't make it any easier than that. And then website,
The AbbyPalancaTeam.com.
AbbyPalancaTeam.com. Abby,
The,
we gotta go ahead.
the AbbyPalancaTeam.com.
The Abby Palanca Team. $20 million listings or higher. Reach out to her.
No, all listings. I love all the price points.
No, I agree. And again, circling back to your referral business, how you touch, reach out and have a consistent, I mean, this is all you new agents out there. Follow what she says. Reach out, even if they weren't your clients, represent them, touch them, reach out to them. It's so unexpected. Abby, we're about out of time. I really want to say thank you and enlightening us on East Coast real estate, the Serhant.
I feel like I just have to say you have a voice for podcasts.
Oh,
You
well,
really do. It was meant for this medium.
Well, thank you. My wife says I have a face for radio. So, but I appreciate it. And obviously, you make it so much easier for me having someone that's engaging and knowledgeable and insightful and willing to share and sort of joke around with my, I don't know, off personality sometimes. I really appreciate it. If I'm back there, we get back there to watch the U.S. Open over in Flushing Meadows, and
You got to meet up in person when you're here for
I
sure.
definitely will. I know where to get a hold of you, right? Abby at serhant.com.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to you. Abby, thank you so much. We'll
Thank
connect
you
again. And my next trip back there, I'll definitely stop by, check out Brooklyn.
for sure.
Thank you, Abby. Have a great day.
Bye, you too.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.